In this episode of the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast, it is Rookie Watch Volume 10. And you know we have to talk about Dalton Knecht, who lit up the Utah Jazz for 37 points. And the big question is, how in the world did he fall to number 17? James and I are going to share our thoughts on the mistakes teams made by passing up Dalton Knecht. We'll also talk about Stephon Castle, Kyle Filipowski making the most of his opportunity, Tidjane Salaun having a big game, and Jared McCain continues to shine. Stay tuned. Big shout out to each and every person that has made the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast your first listen of the day. I'm your host, Rafael Barlowe, along with my co-host, who happens to be my brother, James Barlowe. And James is in Tulum, Mexico. I'm a little jealous right now because, Dallas isn't cold right now compared to the other parts of the country, but it is definitely not Tulum. And this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. And also, your favorite Locked On podcast has a newsletter. Check it out at LockedOnDaily.com. So whichever NBA team you cover, whether it's Locked On Lakers, Sixers, Hornets, whoever, check it out at LockedOnDaily.com. The newsletter will be delivered right to your inbox every morning. And if you are not subscribed to the YouTube channel, please subscribe, like, share, comment, click the bell so you can be notified every time we post the episode, because we don't really take days off. If we take days off, it's because we had an extra episode the day before. James is in Tulum right now. Now, if I were in Tulum, I'd probably be podcasting too. I mean, I've podcasted from Africa, from Monaco. I've podcasted all over the world. And when you love what you do, you'll make time on a vacation. So I hope James is enjoying the heat, because I got on a sweatshirt. I had put a Scully on my son this morning. James looks like he just been out on the beach chilling.
I put a shirt on to do this podcast, man.
So last night, Dalton Knecht scored 37 points, tied a rookie record for the most threes in the game. And over his last 4 games, he's averaging 24.3 points. He leads the Lakers with like a plus 9.3 plus minus when he's on the floor. And in the game, he had 21 points in the third quarter alone, 9 threes. What were you thinking while you were chilling on the beach in Tulum watching Dalton Knecht get loose?
Well, a lot of those points looked like they were on Cody Williams' head. I don't know if they were picking on him, if it was personal. Sometimes guys make up stuff like Madas made up, whatever he made up with Risacher. But Dalton Knecht is in, like we mentioned before, he's in a great spot. You're playing with LeBron. There's going to be plenty of open shots. All you got to do is what you've been doing your whole career, which is make open jump shots. And he's making them. Like I mentioned before, he scores in transition. He does a good job cutting. Like, you couldn't have asked for a better situation if you're a rookie. I know some people are going to be like, well, how did he fall that far? And then on the contrary, we could be like, well, he's old, basketball old, rookie old, because he's 23. But I think being an older rookie playing on a team that is in win now mode helps you a lot more, because the expectations of who you are and the role that you have is basically like already defined. I mentioned before that I would have possibly entertained him at 5 in Detroit, but who knows what it looks like in Detroit, where, you are obviously probably number 3 on the scouting report there in Detroit behind Cade and Ivy. And again, you're still getting the same kind of shots, but there's probably, I guess you could say, more pressure to deliver because of where you were drafted at, even though Detroit isn't, well, they're trending in the right way. But you can't go ahead, Rob.
I disagree. It's more pressure in LA. It's LA. You're on TV. You have bad performances. They're going to talk about you. I mean, Laker fans can be brutal, and we've seen players cave under the pressure of LA.
True.
That is why I think what Knecht has done the last few games has been so special. Think about the players that we've seen, veterans.
I always talk about Malik Beasley freezing up out there.
I mean, I can go on for years, and people always talk about, like, if you're put it like this: if you don't like LeBron, people have a case and say, "Oh yeah, you know, guys can't play with LeBron, yada yada yada." I mean, we've seen guys that were established veterans go to LA, the bright lights, the pressure, they can't perform. Knecht as a rookie, and yes, he's an older rookie, but it was a mistake for teams to pass him up. And he's an older rookie, but he was very, very productive in college last year. And it could be a classic case of NBA teams choosing upside over production. And the player that he looked like he took it out on was selected ahead of him in Cody Williams. And one of the things that, and I mean, hindsight is 2020, whatever the saying is. One of the things going back in the draft, even if you were a big Cody Williams supporter, you knew that there were games where he just was flowing with the breeze. If you were a Knecht hater, you knew, like, even when he's having a bad game,
he was getting an
impact.
Yeah.
And so I think, like, I mean, again, I know it's super early, but I do feel like Knecht took it a little personal, and he wanted to show the Jazz, even though I'm sure he's happy in LA, but he wanted to show the Jazz, like, yo, your rook, he's not messing with me.
Well, I say this about being the fifth pick, and even, you know, those Detroit, there's still pressure. I mean, look at how they talk about Alex Sarr at number 2, because he had a terrible preseason and a terrible summer league. And, you know, I talked about him. I said he looked like smoking hot trash in summer league. His percentages were bad. So, like, if Knecht would have went 5th in Detroit, and let's say he didn't have these kind of performances, and then you'd have looked at, I don't know, whoever was drafted behind him is playing well, they'd be like, see, should have drafted the old dude that early. I mean, it's early. I didn't have Knecht falling as far as he did in the draft, because, again, you know, whether he's older or not, he's 6'7", he's a good athlete, and he cuts, and he has a burner. I would have taken him, especially if I were a team that was like how the Lakers are, where you're still trying to win. But, you know, Knecht is playing well. Like I told you, I don't know how you take him out the starting lineup.
Yeah, I think he's got to stay in the starting lineup. But I just want to go back to the drafts. I think collectively, 95% of the people that watched the draft said, how in the world did he fall to 17?
That's true.
And I think that most people knew he was in a good situation. We even talked about it in the preseason when he wasn't making shots. I was like, he's going to eventually make those shots. He's getting looks, and he has an opportunity to really play well. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say I saw him, like, scoring 37 or averaging like 20-something points per game over a, you know, decent stretch of games. But I did think that he was going to be able to help the Lakers, and the Lakers got a steal. This makes up for Jalen Hood-Schifino.
It's funny. I saw somebody tweet he had more points last night than Hood-Schifino has, like, in his career or something, like, or I forget how many stretch of games.
Yeah, that tweet's, it's like, it like changes. Like, every few days. It was like the first 4 games, it was like Knecht, 4 games, whatever points, Hood-Schifino. I still think Hood-Schifino just needs another opportunity. I don't know what's going on there. The Lakers, like, really have not even given him a shot. Like, he's almost in, like, Johnny Davis mode in a sense.
Let me give the Hood-Schifino family some hope. So they hated Taurean Prince last year. They said him and Darvin Ham were colluding into the downfall of the Lakers, right? Taurean Prince shot 40% from 3 as a Laker last year. They still hated him. He's shooting 53% from 3 this season. Not a Laker, right? I talked about Malik Beasley. They hated him as a Laker. Right? He moves on, plays well in Milwaukee. He's playing well in Detroit. They hated even Reggie Bullock when he was Laker. He couldn't make a shot. They made a midseason trade for him. He forgot how to shoot. He was starting for Dallas on a playoff team the next year. So
Russell Westbrook
just recorded his 200th triple-double. And he was better as a Clipper than a Laker. I had to say this, Hood Schifino family. I saw you at the draft. Listen, if he gets another opportunity, it's a fresh start, and then you can just build from there. Just because you don't play well for the Lakers does not mean you can't play basketball.
No, I agree. But yeah, the question that I just don't understand is how did Dalton Knecht fall to number 17? Not saying that front offices don't know what they're doing, but like I mentioned a few minutes ago, collectively, most people knew on draft day, like, that's a steal. He's going to help the Lakers. All right. When we return, we're going to talk about Stephon Castle, who is always the topic of discussion between me and James. And number one, I'm not a Castle hater. Every time he plays well, people are like, Rafael still is not a believer. And then there's, of course, people trying to make me seem like I've said something negative about Castle. The only thing I've said is I just don't think he's Brandon Roy. But when we return, we're going to talk about Stephon Castle and Kyle Filipowski, who is the Utah Jazz's best rookie, without a doubt. But before we get into the second segment, let's talk about FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sports book. And right now, if you are a new customer, you can bet $5. You can get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL, and it is all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more. And it is on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. And like I said, you get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That is at FanDuel.com. All right, second segment. Stephon Castle had 10 points, 8 assists, 3 rebounds against the Thunder. Didn't shoot the ball well, but overall, Castle has played well in the starting lineup. He has a strong case to stay in the starting lineup. I don't know how they're going to do it. I'm not sure what they're going to do, but 8 of his 9 games in double figures has come when he's in the starting lineup. And another wrinkle to this whole Stephon Castle and the starting lineup story, and it could be coincidence, but it seems like he's played his best ball under Mitch Johnson as opposed to Greg Popovich. Now, like I said, it could just be, him, the game slowing down a little bit, getting his feet wet, but 8 of his last games in double figures has come with Popovich out. Shout out to Coach Pop. Get well soon. Hope to see you back on the sideline.
Yeah, in those games that he has started, I believe they are 4-4, which is, you'll take that. But last night wasn't concerning. I know I had mentioned he had been shooting like 40% from 3 as a
starter. You called him a 3-level scorer.
He still is a 3-level scorer. He had a terrible night shooting, and they were daring him to shoot. And the stat report, even though I don't care what the percentages say, he's still going to have to be a proven shooter. And that's perfectly fine. I get it. I guard him that way too. And I'm a Stephon Castle believer. King of the Castle is that what I'm about to start calling myself. So he shot poorly, but you still see how he impacts the game. 8 assists, Raf, 3 rebounds. You saw the big block, huge block on Shai Gilgeous at the end of the game. The shooting, it's going to come and it's going to go. And he shot like trash from 3, but I will tell you this. He kept shooting. He was not afraid of the moment. And he hit a big one in the second half. So props to Castle. Got to keep working on the jump shot. They're going to continue to dare you to shoot, and it's going to be your job to prove that you can make shots.
Yeah, he's been shooting. Like, that's the thing. Like, he's aggressive. And I like guys that even if they're off, not saying I want guys taking a bunch of bad shots, but I prefer guys that if they're not contributing in the scoring column or their shot isn't falling, they find ways to make an impact. We're just getting to the foul line, rebounding, passing, and Castle he finds a way to do something. He's going to make you notice him. He's going to make an impact. He's just not out there running around getting cardio. But his last couple games, he's like 7 for 24. And he is 3 of 11 from 3 after he had a game where he went 7 of 12 against the Lakers and made 3 or 4. And I just want to say that my man made 3 out of 4 threes, and James labeled him a 3-level scorer. In my opinion, there's no such thing as a 3-level scorer who you dare to shoot. That's like an oxymoron.
Listen to me. All right, listen to me, Rob. As a starter, he's making threes. We've been over this. Okay, you sit here and say he's not. He's shooting 34% from 3 as a starter over an 8-game stretch.
Oh no, it's respectable. I'm just not calling him a 3-level scorer.
Okay, well, the talent is there. The potential is there.
You know, like I'm giving you a hard time. If you call him Brandon Roy, and if he's not Brandon Roy, I'm gonna remind you that he's not Brandon Roy. You call him a 3-level scorer, I'm gonna remind you
more than I've been wrong, man.
I'm gonna remind you that teams are daring him to shoot. All right, let's talk about Kyle Filipowski. Now, I have not been a big fan of Kyle Filipowski. I was not high on him out of Duke. I was not one of the people that thought of him as a first-round pick last year. Had some concern. I definitely did not like how he finished the season in the NCAA tournament, where it just looked like his toughness was questioned. But Kyle Filipowski has been good. He's in a good situation in Utah.
Great situation.
And, again, we talk about it almost every episode. He's made the most of his opportunities. And one of the things I like about Filipowski is when you look at the Jazz and their lineups, Cody Williams was given a starting job because Taylor Hendricks got hurt, I believe. I think John Collins was given – well, John Collins probably should start. Like, if they were trying to win games, I think Collins should – well, I don't know. That's debatable. But I will say this. Filipowski went from not playing to starting, and nothing was given to him. He earned those minutes. And even though his last game, he only had 3 points, but he got rebounds. He got assists. And he had some good games prior to that. So shout out to Kyle Filipowski. Prove me wrong. And I got a quick stat for you.
Go ahead.
Prior to last night, in his last 5 games, he was getting about 23 minutes of contest. And in the games where he played at least 20 minutes, he was averaging 12 points, 5.7 rebounds, 2.7 assists, shooting 57% from the floor and 41% from 3. If you're a Jazz fan, you have to be pleased with the steal you got in Kyle Filipowski. But you got to be concerned with Cody Williams. Last time I looked, he was averaging like 19 minutes a game, getting good cardio.
Hey, read those Filipowski stats off to me again real quick.
So in games where he played 20 minutes, he was averaging 12 points, 5.7 rebounds, 2.7 assists, 57% from the field, and 41% from 3.
You know who I compared him to if everything were to work out? And again, I was like, I liked Filipowski. I understood what he was. I didn't know he was going to become that just because, like you said, how he played at Duke, I didn't like how he played at Duke. It was a lot of post-ups, and he was shooting threes. Whereas it looks like Utah is using him the correct way as a playmaker, facilitator. Him and John Collins have great chemistry together. But if you read those stats off, those sound like who I compared him to, best case scenario for him. And that sounds like Naz Reid. So Naz Reid, the 6th man of the year, he won it. 13 points, 5 rebounds, 1.3 assists, 40% from 3, and he shot 48% from overall from the field. So that was the kind of player that I envisioned Filipowski becoming. I didn't know if he was going to get that opportunity to, but he is. And shout out to Kyle Filipowski. He's playing well. What do his minutes look like when Kessler comes back? Because I know he's been missing games, and they
I'm
still
not
kind of
sure.
have like a log jam at the 4 or 5 position.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but they have to find a way to play him. And the Filipowski Nasri comparison, I'm pretty sure that's probably going to draw some raised eyebrows. But one of
Why?
the things, well, I mean, comparisons are one of the things that's always a debate. A debate. But anyway, one of the things that when you look at that, let's say he is like Nasri 2.0 in a sense. Guys of that skill set, it just shows college may not be for them because
Yeah,
Nasri was undrafted,
yeah,
or even like in at Duke, I didn't like the Lively Filipowski fit together. Lively has proven that
hmm
he's a much better NBA player than college player, and even though Filipowski was good last year, you can make a case and say Duke didn't fully utilize his skills, or he's just a better not better. Better is a strong word, but just the fit in the NBA is a little bit better than what some people, including myself, anticipated coming out of Duke. All right, when we return, we're going to talk about Tidjane Salaun, who had a big, well, I mean, it was a big game for him, especially for a guy that hadn't been playing a lot. We'll talk about Tidjane Salaun. Jared McCain continues to shine, had a big game Monday night. And we're going to touch on Zaccharie Risacher. But before we get into the final segment, I want to talk about our new sponsor, which is Mint Mobile. And with Mint Mobile, you can say goodbye to overpriced wireless plans and their jaw-dropping monthly bills and unexpected coverages. With Mint Mobile, they have a plan that starts as low as $15 a month. Just $15. And with Mint Mobile, you can use your plan, or you can bring your plan along. You can keep your existing contacts. But the most important thing is you can ditch the high prices, and the plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. So to get this customer offer and a new 3-month premium wireless plan for $15, just go to mintmobile.com/lockedonnba. That is mintmobile.com/lockedonnba. You can cut your wireless bill down to $15 a month. Again, I'll say it one more time. mintmobile.com/lockedonnba. And a $45 upfront payment is required, which is the equivalent to $15 a month for new customers on a 3-month plan only. The speeds are slower, above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plans. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. All right, Tidjane Salaun, 11 points, 8 rebounds, 2 blocks versus the Nets. What were your thoughts on his performance and what he did in his, I guess you can, to me, I feel like this was like his first real opportunity. But what were your thoughts about his game against the Nets?
I think Tidjane was perfect from the field. I want to say Tidjane had 11 points on 2 of 2 shooting.
But he got to the free throw line, which is something that we haven't really seen a lot of him as far as getting to the foul line. He was 6 or 7 from the free throw line. So, I mean, he was perfect from the field in a sense. 11 points on 2 shots. You'll take that.
Yeah, Tidjane he's still an adventure. And you know what's crazy? I know for a fact, willing to bet money on it. They've been in the film room with him, and it's like, hey, young fella, that's not a good shot. Young fella, come on, chill out, man. Let's swing the ball. We can always get that. That logo 3, trailing 3 with 18 on the shot clock, we can get that anytime we want. And, Coach benched LaMelo Ball last night. So clearly Tidjane is shook because I saw him swinging the ball. But he had 11 points. He made both of his field goals. Obviously, they were threes. He did have a drive at the top of the key. He put the ball on the ground, and he got fouled. That is a positive sign. I do think Tidjane is a little on the stiff side, though. Even the play that he made, he didn't make 2 threes. I'm sorry. He had a floater in transition and it wasn't even like the strongest finish. It's just kind of weird because it kind of like it just doesn't look like he's raw. It looks like he doesn't know what he's doing, but he does stuff like that. But even on that dry, it was just there was no speed, no power behind it. He just looks like he's straight up. But I'm buying him long term as a shooter. Him grabbing rebounds, even the little bit of time that he did play, that is a positive. I mean, 8 rebounds in 14 minutes, you absolutely take it. He also had 2 blocks. He is a stretch forward through and through. I don't know long term about him being, a ball handler, just because. Yeah, I'm not buying that. But again, if he at some point is a 15, and if he's like PJ for them, then you'll take that. PJ Washington, excuse me.
Yeah. I mean, I think he can handle the ball in like transitional straight line drives. As far as making him turn and then make a move, I don't see it in his game right now. But he's like a guy that is athletic, but it's like just straight up vertical athleticism.
Yeah.
But this was a positive sign for him because the shooting numbers are pretty bad. 26% from the floor, 24% from 3, and 63% from the foul line. But he is rebounding, which was one of the concerns I had coming into this season. I didn't think he was a good rebounder. And in this game, he had a couple blocks. And I felt like for a guy that is a good athlete in a sense, as far as being long, I just felt like on the defensive end, he didn't collect a lot of defensive stats, even though stats won't always tell the story. But I feel like he had a long ways to go on the defensive end. All right, let's switch over to Jared McCain, who continues to be hot. On Monday night, he had 20 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists against the Miami Heat. Right now, I think he's the front runner for Rookie of the Year. And he's I'm torn about saying this, right? I want to say he is keeping the Sixers together, but they're like 2-11 or something like that. And so, I mean, they'd probably be equally bad with or without him. But I think he's been a positive sign. And the Sixers sound like they're a mess. I mean, you got Tyrese calling Embiid out. You got Embiid pushing reporters.
Embiid. You got Paul George complaining about getting double teamed in NBA games.
I didn't see that.
You didn't see that? He was like, the Lakers, why are y'all blitzing me? Why are y'all trapping me? I'm on a minutes restriction.
That's worse than Devin Booker.
I thought way worse. I thought that was AI when he said that. Like they doctored his voice. He really said that on his podcast, man. Paul George is a different dude, man.
I like PG, man. I like Paul George a lot, but I do think that he leaves himself open for criticism with some of the stuff he says. And having a podcast and that platform means he's going to speak even more. And, I think he probably has to be like, man, the Clippers are without me, they're without Kawhi, and they are above 500 last time. I think they're like,
let me tell you something. They got a Paul George, Tobias Harris graphic floating around on the internet right now. He's not winning that. He's not winning that head-to-head matchup, and the Pistons are good.
Yeah, who would have thought the Pistons would have a better record than the Sixers? And actually, on one hand, like I was telling somebody, I could be wrong, but I'm like, Tobias Harris, I know people are critical of him because of his salary, and he has, he has a track record of disappearing in playoffs. But there's a reason why Tobias Harris was valued in the offseason. And he has always been a professional. He's a guy that you never hear anything about off the court. And even when you just if you go to games and you just see how people respond to him, you see him as a guy that leads by example. And he sets a tone in the locker room. Not a rah-rah guy, not like your guy that sets the tone by yelling at people. But I think he just sets a tone by leading by example. And now,
bet you he ain't late to meetings.
No. No. I mean, first of all, this is what I want to know. Who on the Sixers organization is snitching? Who hit Shams up yo, Shams, Tyrese called Joel out because he's late to practice. How does Shams get that information? Somebody in the locker room is snitching?
I don't know. That's twice.
Well, I guess with the reporter, there had to be other reporters in there.
Yeah.
So
but
I
feel
imagine
like there was only one reporter that reported it at first, though.
Yeah, but I've been in like the media rooms, and I don't go in the locker rooms no more. That's just too. Nah. I had a locker room credential a few years back. Never again. I'm never going into an NBA locker room again. It just feels like, I don't love my job that much. Quick story. One day I was trying to get an interview with James Harden, man, and I got to the locker room first because I'm not like super aggressive, and like the reporters in locker rooms are aggressive. They trying to, shove the mic in the guy's face. So I got there early. So Harden comes out and he's like literally got on the towel. So I'm just sitting there like, and then by the time he comes out, everybody's like, hoarding around him. And you literally have to just sit there and watch the guy with his back to you in a towel. Then he's got to put on his deodorant. Then he's got to like look in the mirror, comb his beard out. And he's doing all of this with his back turned with people like sitting there waiting for him to turn around and literally say, I'm ready. I was like, you know what? Forget that. With all that being said, like, I haven't been in a locker room since COVID, but there is a situation where there's like closed door until the media is allowed in. Yeah. So in that situation with Maxey and Embiid, it sounds like it happened during the closed door session of, the team meeting. And usually like you have to wait until like the coach, like the guys go in the locker room, the coach will do his quick, press conference, and then he may go address the team. And then once he addresses the team, if he addresses the team, then they allow the media in. But anyway, somebody is snitching. Somebody clearly has it out for Embiid, or somebody clearly, caught Shams. But anyway, Jared McCain has been a bright spot on a terrible Sixers season. It's still early. The East is bad. I'm working on my mock draft, and it was weird to see the Sixers had like the number 2 pick, because I think it's between them and the Wizards with the worst record.
They got some like Bovada odds for where they're going to trade Embiid to. Like, and the Pacers are favored. I don't know how that works. I mean, there's the Cameroon connection, but you trade Embiid? I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. Honestly, it just depends on if you believe he's healthy, and if you're owner, you believe he drives revenue. Is he gonna fill the seats? Because he's not gonna get you past the second round. All right, let's switch it up to Zaccharie Risacher. Risacher had a good game, solid game against the Kings. 18 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. And Risacher was able to basically end a cold streak. He was freezing cold. Looks like James is frozen and the Wi-Fi dropped. Hey, that's what happens when you are on vacation. So if you're watching on YouTube, that's why his face looks like he's frozen. But real quick, Risacher he made 6 of 10 threes against the Knicks, and then he went on a cold streak where he was 1 of 19 from 3. He missed like 18 of his 19 threes, but had a bounce back game against the Kings where he made 3 of 5. So wanted to talk about Zaccharie Risacher. Well, that wraps up this episode of the Locked On NBA Big Board Podcast. Once again, thank you for making this your first listen of the day. Be sure to check out the Locked On newsletter covering your favorite Locked On podcast. So whether it's Locked On Mavs, Lakers, Knicks, Jazz, Magic, whoever, your favorite Locked On podcast has a newsletter. You can check it out at lockedondaily.com. Once again, it's Rafael Barlowe with my brother James, who vanished because the Wi-Fi went out. But we are out of here.